Shalom, welcome to another video, and as always, before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachayash, and next double honors to the head apostles / elder bishops of the great millstone who teach and who rule well. Peace, blessings, and safety to all you sincere Akim. Keep pushing, keep believing, and keep the faith, regardless of whether people hear or whether they forbear. All right, this is going to be a quick reading of the law, which will be added to the playlist, to the law and to the testimony, where I bring out different portions of the law, commandments for us to keep, because that is the foundation. All right, Yahweh Shai, faith in Him and keeping the commandments. Okay, and also on that playlist, you're able to find different breakdowns of the prophetic books, Isaiah through Malachi, and then also in the New Testament, the book of Revelation. So go ahead and check that out. But once again, this will be a reading of the law. Before we get started, all right, I'm going to go ahead and bring out some precepts on that, okay, on why we go into the law, okay, because it is the foundation, all right, it's the foundation of the commandments that Yahweh Basham Shai has given us, and how we know what is pleasing to the Lord, okay. So I'm going to start off here, in Joshua 1:8, as soon as it loads up. All right, it says, "This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then shalt thou have good success." Okay, let's get that one. We also can get Psalms chapter 1. All right, and it says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful." Verse 2, "But his delight is in the law of Yahweh, and in his law doeth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." Okay, we can also get Psalms 19:7. "The law of Yahweh is perfect, converting the soul." Okay, that's the law is the Torah. Okay, the foundation, the Torah. All right, it's perfect and converts the soul. The testimony of Yahweh Shai, the spirit of prophecy, is sure, making wise the simple. All right, you'll get a couple more. Psalms 119 and verse 1. Okay, it says, "Blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of Yahweh." All right, plain. Let's search up and see what else is in here. Okay, let's see. Psalms 119:34, "Give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart." Okay, that's what someone who has understanding will do. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, fire. So much here. Psalms 119:55, "I remember thy name, O Yahweh. In the night have I kept thy law." In the night and have kept thy law. That's fire. Let's get some more. Let's see. Man, it's good. I like this one. Psalms 119:72, "The law of thy mouth is better unto me than thousands of gold and silver." Okay, we can keep going on and on. All right, let's go ahead and read. Okay, once again, a reading of Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter. Okay, you see it's entitled "God's Gracious Dealings." Okay, the true name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. We'll start from the top of verse 1. It says, "All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahweh thy power led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doeth man live." That's fire. Yahweh Shai said the same thing. He quoted that Matthew 4:4, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's see. Yep, here it is. Okay, it says, "But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High." It says the same thing in Luke. Okay, Luke 4:4. So that's just beautiful right there. Let's keep reading. It says, verse 4, the raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. Now what this tells us about the Heavenly Father is that he is able to defy logic, defy the laws of physics, all right, and to defy pretty much what you think of as the laws of nature. Naturally, clothes, which that's what that word raiment means. It means your clothing. Naturally, after 40 years, it would wax old. Okay, it would start to decay. All right, your shoes would go bad. All right, but the Most High can preserve you. Okay, and that's exactly what we're looking for in these last days, is preservation. So he's saying, remember the humbling that I gave you in the wilderness and how I preserved you all those 40 years. All right, verse 5, it says, thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so Yahweh thy power chasteneth thee. Let's get a precept on that. Okay, Proverbs the 3rd chapter. There's many scriptures on this. Proverbs 3, we can get Proverbs 3, Job chapter 5, Revelation 3, 19 and 20. Okay, this is Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 11. It says, my son, despise not thou the chastening of Yahweh, neither be weary of his correction. For whom Yahweh loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighteth. Okay, so like I said, and that's all over the scriptures. Despise not thou the chastening of Yahweh. Okay, Proverbs 3, Job 5, as I mentioned, Hebrews chapter 12, starting in verse 5 on down. Okay, you got Revelation 3. Okay, you got 2 Maccabees 6. Okay, all these chapters go into the chastening of the nation. All right, so that's a sign of his good grace. Let's go ahead and read that right quick. All right, 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter. Let's go ahead and get it. Okay, 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 12. It says, now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations whom Yahweh patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. Lest that being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us, and therefore he never withdraw his mercy from us. And though he punish with adversity, yet doth he never forsake his people. You see that? Okay, so that chastening is a good thing. All right, let's read that again. Deuteronomy 8 and 5. Thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so Yahweh chasteneth thee. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh thy power to walk in his ways and to fear him. For Yahweh thy power bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks, of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, and a land of olive oil and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness, thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and of those whose hills thou mayest dig brass. When thou hast eaten and art full, then thou shalt bless Yahweh thy power for the good of the land which he hath given thee. Okay, we're supposed to be thankful for all the things all the blessings that we receive. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's get that right quick. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18. All right, it says, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of Yahweh in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai concerning you. Boom, let's keep reading. It says, beware that thou forget not Yahweh thy power, in not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes which I command thee this day. Okay, so this is a warning. Beware, all right, not to forget these things, which we did. Okay, let's get a precept on that. All right. Hosea 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. So, okay, we got to beware that we don't forget the Heavenly Father and keeping his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments. All right, it says, verse 12, lest when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses, and dwelt therein, and when the herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, then thine heart be lifted up, and thou forget Yahweh thy power, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Okay, and that's exactly what happened. Ezekiel, the 16th chapter, talks about that. Okay, how the daughter of Zion waxed fat, okay, was beautified, and then forsook the Heavenly Father to go after strange gods. Okay, it says, who led thee through that great and terrible wilderness, wherein there were fiery serpents and scorpions and drought, where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand hath gotten me this wealth. And that's where Jake is very proud, man. Okay, this is a warning against that pride. Because before pride go of destruction, and a haughty spirit before fall. Okay, a lot of Jakes, they think you did it. You're the reason why you're successful. Okay, you got to remember that. Let's get the precept. All these things come of the Lord, man. Okay, let's get 1 Samuel 2, and then we'll go to the Apocrypha. All right, this is 1 Samuel chapter 2. All right, and I'm going to start at verse 6. Okay, it says, Yahweh killeth and maketh alive. He bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. Yahweh maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up. So he's the one that is in full control of your destiny. Okay, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're sleeping in a king-size bed or you're sleeping on the park bench, it's all up to the mercy of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Let's get Sirach chapter 11. Okay, in verse 14. It says, prosperity and adversity, life and death, poverty and riches come of Yahweh. Okay, so all these things are of the Heavenly Father. And the reason why, if you didn't know, I call this book Sirach is because that's another name for this book in the Apocrypha, also known as Ecclesiasticus. It's also known as the wisdom of Sirach. Okay, so but once again, the main point was that he controls all these things. So you can't get prideful. Let's read Deuteronomy 8 again. Deuteronomy 8 and 17. And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand hath gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember Yahweh thy power, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. And it shall be, if thou do at all forget Yahweh thy power, and walk after other gods, and serve them and worship them, I testify you against you that this day that ye shall utterly perish. As the nations which Yahweh destroyeth before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye would not be obedient unto the voice of Yahweh your power. So this is a warning, okay, in the law, a warning against pride and disobedience, okay, a warning against allowing your prosperity to get to your head. All right, so just remember these things. Okay, so this is why we read this and go over the law, because once again, this is a foundational building blocks, all right, on our faith. All right, how we are supposed to conduct ourselves, the state of mind that we're supposed to be in. All right, so anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out there. Heavenly Father's will, it was edifying. With that being said, I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rachadash. And until next time, Shalom and Abide Babal.